I know him through my ACCA journey. He was my AAA mentor, and we tried to have a lot of collaboration, but due to certain circumstances or conditions, we couldn't. And finally, we end up doing a podcast. So, having an unbiased, introduction, I would give you a chance to introduce yourself to my viewers.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me for this podcast. So, hi everyone. Myself, I'm Alan Biju Palak. I'm an ACCA member as well as AFA and MIPA member. I'm also currently serving as a faculty member for multiple institute as well as for colleges across India and across UAE mainly.
Wow.
And basically, I'm also a mentor for the Oxford Brookes University as well.
Oh
So that's a and in addition, which I'm currently providing mainly the sessions of AA as well as AAA papers. Yeah, that's it. That's the main thing.
Wow, I am sure I would have missed certain things if I would have given your introduction. So it's better that you gave it. So welcome once again. So you
Thank
are
you.
a very busy mentor, and I have seen in my ACCA journey too when you were mentoring me. So how does your typical day look like? Like it's 10 p.m. guys, and we are still podcasting, and we have just started. So how a typical day looks like?
Yeah, basically, I can just sum up in a very few words that it's all about ACCA. From the morning 7 onwards, I will be having classes. Until very late night, I will be having OBU sessions as well. So it's all about ACCA classes mainly.
From 7 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., it's like more than 12 hours you are dedicating to ACC only. That's so amazing. Thank you so much that it's 10 p.m. and still, you are doing podcast despite of such a long day that you had today. So, as you mentioned, as I know you, like AA and AAA is your expertise. So, how did you, end up doing AA? Was it like through corporate world, or did you just like the subject?
So actually, the main thing was actually struggled a lot to cover the paper AA when I was a student. So basically, the main thing was that when I usually start preparing with the ACCA subjects, one of the main thing was we were not having much mentors available at that point, especially for the theoretical subjects.
Right.
So for the practical papers, we were having mentors like faculty like Habib and all were there. And especially when it comes to the theoretical papers, no one was there actually. So it was really struggling. We were all really struggling to cover up that paper. So at that point, I have started preparing my own for the paper AA, and that make me more depend on the theoretical subjects rather than on the practical papers when I become a mentor. Okay. So once after completing the paper AA, I really understood the struggle that every student would definitely be facing in the subject. So it was very easy for me to understand the student struggle that they will face the later on. So I started to research more on the topics which the students will be struggling, and I tried to bring up the points that might make them easier to learn the subject and to make them more interesting. That's why even when it comes to your session as well, we try to maximum take the subject in a practical oriented manner.
Right.
Like we'll be using the examples, we will be using every possibilities to make this subject more interesting, and we try to link the maximum the subject to the practical scenarios.
Right. That's amazing. Like, if you actually experience it by yourself, you are able to give a better experience because you know how it actually feels to study 100% theoretical subject. So coming from your experience, even I sometimes feel same that, I need to make AA and AAA favorites of students. Like it is the least favorite list, but I wanted to make it on top. Like AA is my favorite subject. So that's my aim of life as of now. So, just now, like you mentioned, AA and AAA is a very theoretical subject, and everybody who is doing AAA, ACCA journey must have experienced this. So, how you make it interesting, despite mentioning the example? Sometimes you don't even understand as a student because BCom students sometimes don't understand the audits example. So, how you make sure that it is actually interesting for students?
So the main thing is that most majority of students is having misconception that AA and AAA both are theoretical subjects. But as we know, it's not a hardcore theory area.
Right.
But all these are practical oriented theories, which are purely based on real practice scenarios. Even all the AA and AAA questions are also based on practical based scenarios.
Right.
So what usually we used to do in the classes are like, we will be using the real audit files for the students. So we will be having, definitely we'll be having a limitation of using the client files in the classes, but instead we will be using the sample files to make them more aware about how the things happen in the real world. So even the new students who are coming directly after the graduation, they might not be having much of audit experience, as you mentioned earlier. Especially they might also not be having much of accounting related knowledge as well.
Exactly.
So in that case, we'll be using more of general scenarios rather than direct scenarios from the textbooks. So it will make them more easier to understand the complex topics better.
Right. Even I remember, like, when I was doing AAA, I was still in my BCom graduation degree, and you showed a few Allen reports that you actually created for us, that you wanted to show as opinion and reports. So yeah, that is something which makes it interesting and easy to remember. Because if you see the financial statements of a company directly, it's too long, and even I won't understand honestly, despite 1 year of experience. But yeah. So that's a very nice way to actually make it understand. And guys, you can also use these methods, in case you are self-starting. You need to relate things to the real life scenario instead of mugging up things from textbooks. So
definitely, even I believe that because I think you remember the first day of the class which we took was not a topic relating to the AA or AAA. Instead, we were discussing the financial statements. We were discussing a basic financial statements of an actual company. So if the students go through the financial statements first, they will definitely be getting an understanding of what we are going to audit on, rather than learning what audit is actually. So basically, if you get a better picture on financial statements, you will be able to understand how you need to audit the financial statements properly. So every student have to follow on this approach. It will make them love the subject, because they will literally be getting a knowledge on what they will be doing on with this topic in the real life.
Right. And also, I believe you need to change the approach. Like in FM, you need to become a finance manager of a company. But when it comes to audit, you need to change the perspective of student, that you have shifted to
It's all
different
based on
paper.
perspective.
Yeah, you are now the auditor, not the company's perspective. So changing perspective from one paper to another is also a talent that mentors.
We will always be focusing on the skeptic mind.
Yeah.
Where we will
Feel alert.
always having a questioning mind.
Professional skepticism, like this is a word that I have heard hundreds of times from your from your videos and live classes. Skepticism. So you have experienced a lot of ACCA journeys in your student and you yourself. So what's the common myth that you have heard? Not any LinkedIn or Insta answer, the common myths about ACCA. But I need your experience where you have experienced the myth, where you want to shout out, dude, stop. This is not the true picture of ACCA.
So you are asking with regarding ACCA or with regarding specific to the AA and AAA paper?
Give both.
Both. So basically, when it comes to the ACCA, I have heard many students used to point out that ACCA is very difficult to learn. And at the same time, some students usually used to mention that ACCA is comparatively very simple as that of CA. Yeah. But both of these are myth. ACCA is equally difficult as that of CA. And at the same time, ACCA is not tough as well. Because basically, when it comes to the ACCA, from the student's perspective, ACCA, it's always one of the most flexible course that a student can ever choose. Because, well, we know that we have got 13 papers. Each of these papers are individual subjects. So we are not having group-wise exams. So it will be very easier for the students to manage their studies. Right. Because if a student wants to choose one paper for a single attempt, he can do that. Right. If you want to have more flexibility and if you have to spread the studies across 6 months, he can go for that. And at the same time, if he or she wants to complete 2 or 3 papers in a single attempt, then the ACCA is also providing an opportunity for that. So in every way, ACCA is making highly flexible for students to manage the studies. So it's a very common myth that ACCA is very difficult. No, it's not very difficult. Okay. ACCA is very easy. No, it is not easy. Students have to spend time practice, then it will make them more easier to clear the subject. So that's one of the common myths. And the other myth, which I already mentioned, is that everyone used to think that both the AA, especially for those students who are planning to attend the AA paper, they always used to think that AA is a 100% theory-oriented subject. But it's not hardcore theory. It's purely application level. And well, we know that even there will never be possibility of having a direct question in the exam about what is auditing.
Right.
Every question will be based on practical-based scenario. So definitely it will be more easier for them to learn if they understand the concepts properly.
Right. I guess
that's amazing.
In like 2019s or 18s, I still see direct questions from past papers. But if you see today's paper or, last attempt's paper or 2022 onwards, it is like 0% they are asking direct, or maybe just a 4 marker.
Yeah.
It's like,
and even if you think, sorry.
You go ahead.
Even if you think back, then also they usually used to have only theoretical question for maximum of 10 marks.
Right.
Rest 90 marks is practical oriented theory.
Right. And even I have seen mock papers that ACC usually upload doesn't even have a single direct question. A final exam may have it, but mock, they never ever promote the direct question. So it's a sort of trend that I have seen, and I guess they will be eliminating completely direct questions. So it's something that you cannot mug up and, vomit out in the paper. So as you mentioned CA point, I just like to, highlight one thing. Have you ever seen, a CA student coming to ACCA, and I feel they find it to be a bit easier ACCA because they haven't seen that flexibility in CA. So when they actually shift to ACCA, they get adapt to this flexibility, and hence they, come to the conclusion that ACCA is easy. So that's due to shift
definitely. To a point, it's right to a point. But at the same time, there are some papers which will be difficult for those who have completed CA, especially the paper audit and assurance and advanced audit and assurance. Actually, audit and assurance paper is exempted for them, but they need to appear for advanced audit and assurance. That's a AAA paper. But when it comes to the AAA paper, I usually used to take classes for CA final as well. So basically, when it comes to the CA exam, the difference is that when it comes to CA exam, the approach is different because the CA exams will focus more on the standards.
Right.
However, when it comes to the ACCA exams, they completely focus on the practical oriented scenarios. Questions will be lengthy. The way in which we need to answer the exams will be a bit different. So that will make them a bit hard to learn the AAA paper. But still, when it comes to ACCA, definitely the flexibility point is there. Right. Flexibility will be high.
Right. And also, I just remember just now that, in your AAA classes, you also mentioned that it's not, equally so important to focus on number and name of the ISAs. And you said if you actually, naturally learn it, it's a different scenario, but you don't have to sit specifically to learn each and everything to the point.
Exactly.
So I guess that's an advantage. Yeah, that's the main advantage that ACCA provides, that mugging up is eliminated completely.
Yes. They always give importance for the conceptual learning.
Exactly. So recently I got a guest on my channel, and they shared a very nice experience where they felt very, very proud to be ACCA because they went to UK and, they could actually say, I'm an ACCA member. So have you experienced such, anecdotes or scenario in your life where you felt very proud to be an ACCA and you proudly said that, yes, I'm an ACCA mentor or ACCA member?
Definitely, this podcast itself is such an event, right? So you have invited me here for this podcast, definitely because of being an ACCA member. And I've been your mentor as well. So I can proudly tell that these all are the benefit that ACCA provides. Especially when in the last month, I have also got an opportunity to go to UK. And I've also visited the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Scotland. And they have also warmly welcomed me only because of being an ACCA member. And they have also mentioned me about all the benefits that ACCA students can opt, although ACCA members can opt. Even we have got 100% exemption for ICAS course as well. Wow. The Institute of Chartered Accountants Scotland course. So there are many benefits like that. So definitely as an ACCA, the title itself gives a lot of in the market, as well as among the financial market mainly.
That's amazing. Just to, get a more insight about your journey, you said you travel lots of countries. due to this ACCA. So how was your experience in different countries? Was there different, perception of ACCA in different countries, relating to different nation student? So how was the experience overall?
Definitely, the experience is really high. And especially, I believe in many other countries, the value of ACC is very high as compared with that of Indian market. Because basically, we know that when it comes to the India, we have got our own chartered accountancy body, like Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. But when it comes to the UA market, ACC is having much more privilege there, especially when it comes to the Indian market. Nowadays, the students are getting more of opportunities, especially almost all the big four firms are here. They are also providing huge number of opportunity for ACCA students, especially when it comes to the assurance market, like the firms like EY and KPMG and all.
Yeah.
But the ACCA is very much known to the outside India market, especially when it comes to UA market and all. So the perspective is a bit different. Like the opportunities are also a bit high over there.
Okay.
Okay, but the main difference is that the Indian market, they gives more opportunity for ACCA freshers. But when it comes to the outside market, they give more opportunity for the experienced ACCAs. That is one of the major difference we can experience.
Okay.
So there are a lot of opportunity for the freshers in Indian market.
Right. I guess because it's still a budding course in India, it's still have not reached that peak in India. So that's why maybe freshers get more experiences and more opportunities in India. Because in UA, it's
Yes,
also
definitely. And I believe ACCA India team is also working a lot behind that, because the ACCA Indian team is also providing us a lot of opportunity. Like
right.
they always used to contact affiliates meet. They always used to provide a lot of job placement cells and all. So they're also working really hard to make the students placed. So I believe almost all the students are very easily be able to find job opportunities nowadays.
Okay. So this is just a personal DM that I got, and I was contacting to one of UA person over there. So he mentioned one thing, and I want to really see if it is a myth or it's a truth, that if you get experience of 2 to 3 years in India, you will be considered a fresher in UA. So is it a true thing or is it not?
It depends actually. So basically, the thing is that when it comes to UA based companies, especially when it comes to UA based companies, they give more importance to the UA experience itself. That's the thing. But when it comes to other companies, like a multinational company, they will be giving value for every prior experience.
Okay.
So to an extent, it's not true, but to an extent, it's true. But the fact is this: there are some companies which prefer to have UA experience. That is not really just applicable for the Indian students. Like if you were already working in UK, and if you are not having a good knowledge on the UA based standards and tax regime, then in that case, you will also be not considered to have relevant experience.
Okay. Too much of UA talks, and I am just loving this part of the podcast. This was something not planned, but yeah, getting from your experience. So let's move on to the next question. There must
Sure.
be, you must have mentored lots and lots of students till now, and you must have noticed few common mistakes that every student does in AA or AAA. So what's that one or two mistake that you would like to highlight to every student so that they can actually avoid in their attempt?
The first thing is that the students usually used to mug up a lot of things. So the both papers, both the AA and AAA, as I mentioned multiple times, these are not hardcore theory areas. So there is no requirement for by hurting any of this area. Right. Instead, the students have to proper purely on the conceptual areas. They need to literally understand meaning. Because ACCA never give much importance for the direct rote learn theory. Instead, they always give importance for scenario based answers. So it's always preferable to get a proper understanding with regarding the meaning of each of the theoretical area. They need to clearly understand that, and they need to apply it to the scenario while giving the answers for ACC exams. And the second and the most important thing that every student should consider, and the most important mistake that every student should avoid, is a question practice. Most majority of students will never practice a question. Especially for the paper, AA and AAA, question practice is very important. That to every students must practice questions using their laptop itself. Because as we know, unlike other times, our exams are purely computer based. And when it comes to the AAA, especially for the AAA paper, our answers will be very lengthy. So one of the most important factor that the students needs to focus on is the time management. Because unless they manage the time properly, they won't be able to complete answers properly. So it is one of the most difficult situation as well, because there will be possibilities where you will be having good insights about how to give an answer, but you will not be having much time to present it. So that will be a very bad scenario, right? So in order to overcome that limitation, there's only one option, that we must practice on questions. And I usually used to suggest the AA students that every student have to practice a question at least 3 times. Like basically we used to practice a question from the class itself, and the same day the same student need to practice the same question from his home, and again he need to practice the same question during the time of revision. Because normally when it comes to the paper AA, we used to get a lot of repetition points, especially when it comes to the questions like internal controls and audit risk. Usually used to get a lot of repetition points. So when we practice the same questions for multiple times, and when we get a repetition point, we will be easily be able to give the answer for that. And it won't take much time. And the time we save over there can be used for the other points which you are not familiar with. Exactly. So that will make the exam more easier. So the main thing is that you have to practice. There are many students who will just read the questions, and right after that, they will just go to the answer, and they will just go through the answer once again, and they will fix that. Okay, fine. I will know. Definitely, I will be able to write with regarding this. And the first practice will be during the time of the exam. And definitely, after writing the first question itself, they will lose majority of time. Exactly. And definitely they will panic and they won't be able to focus rest on the questions. So everyone to practice. Since it's a theory subject, we don't have any other alternative for that. Okay. This is the main thing.
That's actually a huge thing, and that's the 90% of the thing. And till now, I had, guests who actually taught only practical subjects. So they never mentioned this point. But I always, wanted to shout it out. Please don't do it for theory paper. Practice, and typing speed. Because if you are a BCom graduate, BCom student, then you have a habit of writing, but you don't have a practice of typing. So that was a difficult scenario for me too. So I always practiced on laptop only. So that's the main point that I wanted to highlight. So thank you so much for mentioning this particular mistake. And now let's move on to the next question. Everybody till now on my channel has only talked about during the ACCA journey. So this is the first time I want to talk about the post ACCA journey. Let's say if a student appeared for AAA and now his 13 papers are clear. So what would you suggest the student to do, post 13 papers? Should he go for, 3 years membership like I am doing as of now? My main aim is to complete 3 years in EY so that I get an ACCA member tag. Or would you suggest a person to do another degree? What is your suggestion as a mentor?
So basically, my personal preference is that every student should be giving equal importance for knowledge that we gain from the professional courses. In addition to which, they should also give equal importance for the work experience as well. Because there are possibilities where basically when it comes, basically I've completed my ACCA journey at an age of 19. So it was maybe almost 6 years back. But at that situation, the things were entirely different because there were not much ACCAs in this market. But now the thing is entirely different. There are a lot of students who have completed ACCA and the competition is also very high. So we should be having proper experience to get more promotion and at the same time to claim a position in the market. So if a student complete his ACCA and he is planning to attend other degree or he's planning to do any other professional course, then it will again take additional time. And if we are having a lot of qualifications without having any practical oriented experience, there won't be any use. So the best thing that a student can do is that after completing the first, all the 13 papers, being an ACCA affiliate, they should try to join any of the practical experience which they prefer to have. And during the time of their employment, they can plan for other course. So that would be a wise choice. And more preferably, it's always advisable for every ACCA student to join for an employment before completing the course itself. Like after completing 11 papers or 12 papers, it's always advisable to join in a firm, and they can complete their ACCA with or along with the journey, so that once after completing ACCA, they don't want to wait much to get ACCA membership. So they can directly claim the membership, and definitely they will be having a very high career progression if they opt for other courses at that point. So in that case, the student will be having both the experience, and at the same time, he will be having qualification. Definitely, he will be having opportunity for other courses as well. And especially if you urge to become an ACCA member very quickly, you can also claim exemption in multiple other professional bodies as well. Especially as I mentioned earlier, there are many professional bodies which offer a lot of exemption. Especially, I've taken membership from Institute of Public Accountants of Australia, Institute of Financial Accountants of UK, and all. So all of these are 100% completely exempted for the ACCA members. So if they want to appear for this sort of exemptions, then all of these professional bodies will be asking for the qualifications and at the same time for the experience. So experience is that important. So it's always advisable to take experience.
Okay, so experience over degrees.
Experience is the key.
Yeah, experience is the key. Even I felt after I joined EY, initial few months was like rough experience, because being a staff, you know, don't digest everything so quickly. But now I actually enjoy the process of auditing, because you actually see this was all mentioned in textbook, and now we are actually performing all these auditing procedures. So it's actually great to have that experience. Option shares, every subject comes in when you are actually experiencing the auditing. So it's actually, I have an even similar view that you should actually gain experience and then plan another degree. So yeah, somehow we actually, you know, are on the same line as of opinion. So you have a great fan following on LinkedIn. Every viewer knows. So you must be getting, you know, thousands of DMs. Please, how should I get a job? How should I apply? So how should one actually find a job? Like many of students are not able to, you know, get response through ACCA careers that has actually been built for the job purposes. But what are the alternative despite that ACCA job portal? So what would you suggest to our viewers?
So the first thing before all of this, the main thing I need to emphasize is on the fact that every student have to prepare a proper CV. I believe you might have gone through multiple CVs, right?
Right.
Maybe the students might have directly shared you.
Right.
So if we look at some CVs, some student CVs are almost like visiting cards. So they want much content in that. And
Right.
especially most majority of students will not be preparing CV with ATS format. So I believe you are familiar with the application tracking system.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
ATS software which are being used by almost all the major employers. So the ATS software will be filtering out the CVs.
Okay.
So when you prepare a CV, either you have to prepare it on the proper format that is based on Microsoft Word, or when you prepare the CVs in PDF format, it should be in readable format. Then only ATS software will be able to track it.
Right.
And one of the most common mistake most majority of students used to do is that they will be spending a lot of time to learn these 13 papers, and they have spent around years to become an ACCA member, like almost more than 16 years now, right? From their very childhood onwards, they started learning many things, completed their graduation, post-graduation, ACCA and everything. Right. And nobody is willing to spend at least 2 or 3 hours just to prepare a proper CV. Even ACCA have given guidelines on how to prepare CV. I have also uploaded multiple videos in my YouTube channel relating to same. Okay. But still, when I get a CV, I cannot find most majority of CV in the same format. So every student should focus on preparing a good quality CV. Especially you can ask your mentors, you can ask any of your friends or their colleagues who might be working in any big four or other firms. So right. This is one of the main things. Then the student should be properly be drafting a covering letter or a proper email draft for the purpose of sending CV. So they should be spending time for that as well. That's the second thing. And the third thing, many of the students will be getting access to the employer, but at the stage of interview, many student fails. And again, the same thing, they might not even be considering about the job description for which job they are applying for. So when they appear for an interview, basically when we take the interview, one of the main thing that we usually used to face is that most majority of students will not be preparing for the interview properly. They will dress up very well. They will be sitting very confidently, but they might not have revised anything relating to the job role they are applying, or they might not be having any familiarity relating to even the company they are applying to. So that is one of the main mistakes that the students should avoid actually. The students should be preparing properly for the interview as well. Because all the 2 or 3 years spending for the ACCA, nobody is spending at least 2 hours, which you usually used to price in before the exams. So if you really want to get a job, you have to prepare very well, like how you usually prepare for an ACCA exam. So that's the main thing. Then you start applying for the job interviews. And when you apply it, as I mentioned earlier, you should be considering the job description well. You should be focusing on the qualification or the experience requirements that the employer is looking at. Say, for example, there are many students usually used to get very quickly demotivated. They might be applying for the job openings that are actually applicable for ACC members. And the students might have already completed the first 9 papers. He will apply for the same post and he will mention that he have applied in multiple LinkedIn posts. He have shared CV to multiple person, but still I'm not able to find the job. But that is not the right means, because there are, even in the ACCA careers also, there are specific jobs that are applicable for the freshers. There are specific jobs that are applicable for the ACCA part qualified, as well as for the ACCA members. And when it comes to the ACCA affiliates as well, in some job role, they will be specifically mentioning that that particular candidate should be preferred to have high knowledge in Arabic language, for example, or high knowledge in any specific language. So all these criteria have to be met. And especially when you prepare a CV, your CV should be properly based on the job role and the job description and the quality they demand. So you should be using the keywords that are mentioned in the CV, and the keywords should match with that of the job description. So all this have to be mainly be considered. So the main thing that I will mention is that you should properly be preparing a proper CV. Then you should start applying for the job and make it ATS friendly.
Right, that is the main thing. Instead of focusing, on which platform to apply on, right? It doesn't matter. You need to apply it in the right manner. Even I get lot of DMs. I get just a para and a resume attached. No follow up, nothing, no hi. Follow up. I will like, you need to follow up to the person. Have you referred? What's the update? You just forget it. You just copy paste. You just attach a resume and your job is over. So that's something you cannot do, and that's not something you can expect from other person also. So we have only 5 minutes left for the podcast, and it's my favorite question that I ask to each and every guest. So in less than 2 minutes, could you please brief where do you see ACCA in next 5 years?
So basically talking about the Indian market itself, ACCA will be having a lot of opportunity in the upcoming years, especially as I mentioned earlier, being working very closely with ACCA academics and ACCA marketing and all of the teams in India. ACCA is working very much hard to get more of opportunities in the Indian market itself. Especially as we know, we can see a lot of opening in the Big Four firms. And in addition to the Big Four firms, also students are getting a lot of opportunities in other private sector, even in banks and other sectors as well. So ACCA is getting a lot of job opportunities now itself. So definitely in the next 5 years, ACCA's future will be really high, because the whole team is working behind that. So we can definitely expect a very bright, lot of opening, and definitely all the students who are currently studying and all the upcoming students will be able to get one of the best opportunities in the upcoming global market. Not only in Indian market, definitely in the global market.
That's like a good news to all my viewers, because I hope if you are watching this podcast, you are an ACC student or you are an ACC affiliate. So that's a sort of relief that, yes, I chose the correct profession for my career and it has a bright future. So that's a sort of guarantee that everybody wants in their life. So, listening from mentors like you actually makes it more credible statement instead of me mentioning the same thing. So that's why I asked every mentor that please, enlighten my viewers with the next 5 years, despite the fact future is very uncertain. So we don't know where, next degree may pop up. But yeah, ACCA does have a great future. So how was your experience about this podcast? Finally, we have come to our end, and I will end it up soon. And if you could just tell your experience.
Definitely, it was a very informative session, both for us as well as for the
Right.
viewers, I believe, because we have discussed a lot about the ACCA specific
Right.
to the subject and about the global opportunities that the students are going to get in future, as well as definitely about the points that they need to focus on.
Right.
So in total, it was really a very great session, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity to talk to your viewers as well as to the global ACCA market. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alan, once again. Thank you so much for taking out time. Thank you guys for watching this particular podcast. I'll see you in the next video with another guest on ACCA. Keep watching, keep subscribing. Bye-bye.